Hello friends and welcome back. This week's video is all about examining evidence and looking at how to recreate things for our impressions. I am going to be going through a fair bit of boring stuff, so if it all becomes a bit overwhelming or you're just not interested, you can skip ahead to where we're actually doing the thing. But for those of you who are interested, I will leave more information in the description down below for reading after the video. Our video today concerns a particular tablet woven band from Viking Age Dublin. Normally when we're thinking about tablet woven bands from the Viking Age, we're thinking some really cool patterns, some really bold colours, maybe even some brocade with some gilt or silver thread. That's all really cool, but that's not what this video is about. The band we're looking at today is perhaps the plainest of the plain, and that makes it perfect for beginner reenactors and veteran reenactors alike. First, let's talk about evidence. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is based in a report done by Francis Pritchard, who at the time was working for the Museum of London, and did this report for the Northern European Symposium for Archaeological Textiles. The particular symposium that this report was written for was held in 1990, and the report itself was released with all of the other symposium reports in 1992. This particular symposium is held every 3 years and it rotates around through different locations, and funny enough, the last one was held in 2017, which means 2020 was the year the next one was supposed to be held. Pritchard's report was titled Aspects of the Wool Textiles from Viking Age Dublin. It's 11 pages long, with one whole page of that being bibliography, so if you want to dig into more source material, you can. The report goes over more than just tablet woven bands, but also goes into loom woven bands and some sprang and some null binding as well. The band we're looking at today is one of the bands that features in this report, so let's get down to the nitty-gritties of this band. Here are some of the specifics we can glean from the report. The tablet woven band was at most 12 millimeters wide. All of the threads used were single Z-spun yarns. The band includes 16 tablets, and of those tablets, half are S-threaded and half are Z-threaded, alternating between each. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense to some of the beginner reenactors or those not familiar with tablet weaving, but we will go into it in just a moment. One of the things not specifically outlined in the text of the report, but is able to be gleaned from the photo of this particular band, is the fact that all of the cards turn in the same direction the entire time. There doesn't appear to be any change of direction in the turning of the cards at any point during the band. The report unfortunately doesn't mention any dye analysis on this band, and I haven't been able to glean such information from any other source either. So for today's purposes, we're just going to go with some very basic red yarn. Through the Viking Age, colours like red would have been obtained with a plant called madder. It's also fairly uncommon to find commercially available single spun yarn thin enough for our purposes today, so we are going to be making do with some 2-ply yarn. If you're feeling committed though, feel free to spin your own fine enough to be able to do this project accurately. Alright, now that we've gotten all the technical report reading out of the way, let's get on to trying to recreate this band. First thing you'll need, of course, some tablets for tablet weaving. I'm going to link to a video from Popular Urbanum where they show you how to use playing cards as tablet weaving cards, in case you haven't got access to wooden, bone or antler cards. Using playing cards is a really cheap and easy way to get into the hobby of tablet weaving without committing too much. The most important things about your cards that you should notice is that they should have 4 holes, the corners should be rounded, and the card should be approximately square. Now, as for the yarn itself, as I said, I'm going to be using a 2-ply red yarn. I am very fortunate enough to have been able to buy a whole cone of this one, but you can buy it in smaller quantities from places like Spotlight, Lincraft or other craft stores. If you can't find smaller quantities from your local craft store, try checking out places like the Bendigo Wool Mills or similar, where you can get locally produced wool to the size you need. Another tool you may want to look at using is something called a shuttle. This holds the weft thread that you're going to be using. It doesn't have to be a special purpose shuttle like this one that I've got. You can use even just a basic pencil to wrap your yarn around to use for your shuttle, and that's perfectly fine too. Some people don't even use a shuttle at all, and they'll just spool up whatever yarn they need and they'll just pass it through manually as is. That's all fine. There's no wrong way to do this. Next thing we need to do is thread the yarn through our tablets. I'm going to kind of skip over this. There are some other tutorials on YouTube that are much better at explaining it than I am, so let's just artsy-fartsy through it. If you haven't got a loom like mine and you're just getting started with tablet weaving, backstrap weaving is a really good way to get started without the commitment of having to buy a loom. You can also check out more YouTube videos for that one. There are some good ones out there. Once all of your cards are under tension, we now need to orient the cards. And this is where that S and Z threading comes into play. You'll need to use your imagination a little bit for this one because obviously they're not going to look like perfect S's or Z's. It's just about the direction that the thread travels through your card. This is S threaded. This is Z threaded. So you're going to want to make your cards alternate between S and Z threading. So it should be S, then Z, then S, then Z, then S, then Z, and so on and so forth until all your cards are alternating. Now tie that loose tail from your shuttle either to your belt or to the end of your loom so that it's not going to pull through as you are weaving. And that's all the prep out of the way. Now we've just got to weave. And it's quite simple because all the cards turn in the same direction every single time, always forwards. Your cards should turn 1/4 each time you pass the weft thread through the shed. Make sure you compact everything down between each pass. And be sure to pull tight on the weft thread to make sure that it reaches the desired width. Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't have a consistent width. There are plenty of archaeological examples where things are not perfect the whole way through. So now you just weave until you can weave no longer, whether that's by circumstance or willpower, and then you cut it off the loom. That's as simple as it is. You can then weave in the ends of your weft thread to make sure it is secure. You can plait the excess on your warp as well. There's so many ways to finish off these bands, and then you can use it however you like, whether that's a strap on a bag, decoration on your dresses or your tunics, or as garters for your leg wraps. There are so many different ways you could use this. It's up to you. I hope you found this one informative and a little bit interesting. I'd like to do more videos like this, and if you agree, please tell me in the comments down below. I'm also going to be leaving more of that reading material in the description, remember, so if you want to know more about this particular author and these particular finds, you can find that information down there. And I'll be in the comment section for a little bit now. So hopefully I'll see you there. Bye for now. Our video today concerns from one particular aspects of the textiles. Let's try that again. So let's get into the specific.